Coming up on tonight's UAP news show,
Lue Elizondo's imminent book leak.
Senator Gillibrand co-sponsors the new UAPDA.
David Grusch's $2.5 million lawsuit.
A slew of worldwide UFO sightings.
And UAP hearings, past and present.
Hey there, beautiful souls. It's your girl, Allie, and we are back at it again for another episode of UAP Society's weekly UAP and UFO news show. I am stoked to get started, so without further ado, Justin, say hey.
Greetings, cosmic enthusiasts. It's Justin here. Let's get right into it. Up first, Lue Elizondo's imminent book leak. As you probably already know, a good portion of the highly anticipated upcoming book, Imminent, by Lue Elizondo was leaked online by Google Books. From what we understand, Lue's UK publisher put out quite a few chapters early, and they have since been taken down. But for the short while that they were available, people in the UFO community ate it up.
And left no crumbs. A tweet from Dan Zetterström says, "Seems that Lue's book preview was accidentally put up early by the UK publisher. I've removed all links on my own feed. It was a doozy though. We are in for a treat. #imminent."
Also reacting to this leak, UFO Jesus of Post-Disclosure World put out a video expressing his thoughts on the matter. Let's take a look.
By now you should know that Lue Elizondo's book has been leaked. And it was verified by someone that knows Lue Elizondo that it was not authorized. It might have been a mistake by the publisher. I just want to say this book gives me the impression that Lue Elizondo is basically sticking the middle finger to the US government. But he just goes into so much depth and clarity about the true nature of UFOs. He's basically saying enough's enough, right? We're done. You're covering up UFOs. Cut it out. I do think that this unauthorized release or premature release will actually lead to greater awareness of the book. I don't think it's going to hurt sales one bit. In Imminent, Lue Elizondo goes deep into remote viewing, and there are so many juicy details and interesting stories that encompass his first 4 chapters that I'm just not going to even begin to delve into. But let me get into a little bit of what he said about remote viewing. He wrote, "With practice, I got better. I would later take the techniques I learned with me to subsequent assignments. After a while, remote viewing became second nature to me. I was able to put myself in the zone without any sort of protocol or ritual. As I understand it, he was recruited into the Stargate program where they were teaching people how to remote view, but that project got defunded before Lue Elizondo could go further with it." That's a very simplistic translation of what's in the book. But here's another portion I want to share, and I quote from Elizondo's book, Imminent. "Remote viewing deserves science, not scorn. Yet closed-minded zealots stormed in and trampled Stargate to death. In the waning days of the program, one member of Stargate was stunned to hear a government supervisor reason for opposing further funding. Quote, 'You are working with people who are in league with the devil,' the boss said. I have an absolute need to respond to that. I've thought long and hard about abilities. Remote viewing, clairvoyance, precognitive dreams, one's ability to heal themselves of disease and injury in a more accelerated rate than maybe is accepted by current scientific understandings, meditation, out-of-body experiences, the cornucopia, is that the right word? The cornucopia of exotic human capabilities. So if remote viewing is real, it was created by God. It's not you aligning with Satan or working with energies or forces that could lead you astray. It's just working with the construct. People who have had near-death experiences often relay that when they come back, they have more psychic capacity. Now think about that. They spoke to God. They saw the light. They went through the tunnel. And they came back with greater sensitivity in these ways. So how can it be satanic? When people who have come closest to God, sometimes when they come back, they have greater capacity within this framework. It's not of Satan. It's part of the construct. Why are these creatures that are more evolved than humanity often reported that they're telepathic and they don't really move their lips? Is telepathy also part? Is that aligning with Satan? What if humanity is going to be telepathic in 10,000 years because that's just how beings evolve? It really is absurd. It is absurd what, in my opinion, what religions have done with their perception of exotic abilities. But maybe they're not so exotic. Maybe when creatures evolve more and more, they just develop these abilities because that's just evolution. And I know there's probably some deep skeptics watching this. I knew it. Elizondo, he's talking about remote viewing. Yeah, well, your whole paradigm is that the universe is entirely physical. What if the universe is not entirely physical? What if consciousness is fundamental? Don't act like somehow that disqualifies him for being credible. Your model of the universe might be wrong.
I love when he goes on his rants. He's so awesome. He makes so much sense to me.
Your model of the universe might be wrong.
Yeah, and I mean, there's been plenty of people that have said that. So it's like, unless you start trying to think outside the box that you've built around yourself, you're not really going to comprehend the real reality.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think he brought up many good points, and I'd like to keep this ball rolling and talk a little bit more about remote viewing. Spoiler alert. I'm about to read you 2 paragraphs from Imminent that bring light to this subject that were part of the book leak. So forgive me, Lord, forgive me, Lue Elizondo, for sharing this, but I feel like it's important and it lends a lot of credence and credibility to this story.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so here we go. And I quote, Stargate trained super soldiers to spy on hard targets using their psychic gifts. No, I am not kidding. This was an official U.S. government program. They called the highly controversial technique remote viewing. The program, pioneered at Stanford University in the late 1960s, was led by none other than Hal Puthoff, whom I met at the dinner meeting I described earlier. Hal had been a Stanford University researcher, and an employee of the NSA when he and his colleague Russell Targ were approached by the CIA and told that Russia had a remote viewing program. The U.S. needed to catch up and beat their efforts. I'm going to read that sentence again. The U.S. needed to catch up and beat their efforts. That's how it all started. Extrasensory perception had won over supporters in government who were initially dubious, then shocked that the technique worked. No one understood the mechanism. The CIA didn't care why it worked. The only thing that mattered was that it did.
To dive even further into this subject, let's take a look at a video clip I have from YouTuber Area 52, who put together an amazing explanation of the previously mentioned Project Stargate.
During the height of the Cold War, the United States government embarked on a mission to gain an advantage over the Soviet Union. To do this, they sought to use a new weapon that could give them an edge in the conflict. Mind reading. Hard to believe, but they initiated a highly classified project that began in a research lab in California in the 70s before moving to a Maryland Army base. The CIA, Army and Defense Intelligence Agency, recruited people who claimed to have extrasensory perception, otherwise known as ESP, to help them uncover intelligence secrets.
And they're really concerned because the Soviets, including the KGB, were spending millions of dollars every year on this kind of phenomenon.
In response, the CIA began to fund their own research in secret at the Stanford Research Institute, SRI, in Menlo Park, California. And recently, in 2017, the CIA declassified some 12 million pages of records, which revealed new details about the program, now known as Project Stargate. Psychics, who were referred to as remote viewers, took part in a wide range of operations, from locating hostages kidnapped by Islamic terrorist groups to tracing the paths of fugitive criminals within the United States. Now, in the world of remote viewing, one name stands out: Ingo Swann.
Ingo Swann claims to have used this astral body to travel to distant planets. He tells us how it feels to travel in this energy body.
This individual was instrumental in the development and advancement of remote viewing as a technique and helped bring it to the attention of the U.S. government. Swann, a renowned artist and psychic, is often credited with developing the first systematic approach to remote viewing in the 70s. He'd already gained some fame for his psychic abilities and was approached by scientists at SRI to participate in the research on psychic phenomena. He soon began to work with Dr. Hal Puthoff and Russell Targ, two of the leading researchers in the field of parapsychology. It was at SRI that Swann developed his unique approach to remote viewing, which he called coordinate remote viewing, or CRV. CRV involves the structured process of gathering information through the use of visual sensory impressions. It starts with the viewer establishing a target, typically a location or object, and then working to gather information about that target through a series of structured steps. Swann's method was so successful that it was eventually adopted by the U.S. government, and Swann himself became a consultant for various intelligence agencies.
So I hope you guys like that Area 52 video that I just showed you a clip of. There's actually 3 different videos. It's like a 3-part series. And I highly recommend watching all of them. It goes into great detail about, remote viewer number 1 and what he did and how he was used to find all kind of things like missing children and airplanes that went down in African jungles and all kind of things. So if any of you want to learn more about remote viewing, I highly recommend that series, for real.
Yeah, so I cannot wait for Lue Elizondo's book to come out, every bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised that so much had gotten leaked,
Yeah.
But I think it's only going to drive curiosity. And I think, it's like, wow, he's really taken off the gloves and he's not pulling any punches,
Mm-hmm.
with the book. I'm excited for it. I can't wait to read it,
Same.
So speaking of weird synchronicities, remember last week we covered Kevin Day?
I do.
And after we covered his story, I actually went and bought his book off of Amazon. And so it came in, and the first page that I just so happened to open the book to.
He just flips it open to this page.
Flipped it open to this page.
I swear.
It was the
I was
first
sitting
time
right
I
there.
opened
I
the book.
witnessed it.
And the first thing that I'd read, it said, Andy, and I'm not sure who Andy is yet, but Andy, have you ever heard of remote viewers? Asked the stranger. Yes, actually I have. I'm a regular listener of AM Coast to Coast, replied Andy. With George Norrie and Art Bell. As the name suggested, remote viewers were trained to see things entirely telepathically from great distances. Yeah, we know the program. Let me tell you that remote viewers are real. The government agencies that use them call them viewers for short. In fact, they are most definitely trying their best to see us right now, Dave replied.
I find that so funny. Like, he literally, we got the book in the mail. We opened up the Amazon package. He flips open the book and he goes, oh my God, they're talking about remote viewing. And I had just told him, please be careful with the microphone.
Sorry.
I had just told him that we were doing a story on remote viewing and Project Stargate and all that. And then that happened. And I'm just like, well, you got to share that on the news then, because I find that's too perfect to leave out on the story. You can't make this shit up. You can't.
I literally could not have made this up.
You can't.
I mean, how? It's weird.
Yeah.
It goes to show that I think there's definitely things that we don't understand about reality. There's so many different things, that have come to light over the past, 5 years, since I've started studying ufology, and this is why I'm so fascinated by this topic and subject,
Same.
Because it goes to show that we don't know everything,
Sure don't. Don't.
I mean, is consciousness fundamental, to the nature of our reality?
Is it local? Is it non-local?
Right. I mean, I think when Lue's book comes out, there might be, some answers or some evidence that points to some answers, or a direction that we should look, so that's one of the reasons that I'm really excited for it.
I'm excited for it too. One thing I'm feeling the need to say is that when he told me about the book preview that came online, I'm like, oh, well, how much was released? And he's like, oh, I don't know, let me see, it looks like a couple pages. And he's like, oh, it's actually a couple chapters. I'm like, chapters?
Yeah, and then it ended up being like 160 pages.
I'm like, are you sure this is like a preview? It sounds like a leak to me. He's like, oh, I don't know, let's just see. And then slowly as we were watching Twitter, things unfolded, and then we contacted a friend who contacted a friend who contacted a friend. Long story short, Dan Zetterström makes that tweet a few minutes later, and we're just like, oh, okay, so I guess it wasn't supposed to happen. Whoopsie! Yeah. But everybody, like we said earlier, ate it up, and I'm just really excited that things like remote viewing are being spoken about. There's a lot of people that poo-poo all over the woo-woo, and I think those people have a lot to learn, lovingly said. But one of the things that's most fascinating to me about this whole remote viewing Project Stargate thing is that the United States started Project Stargate all in an effort to gain an advantage over the Russians. The Russians were already spending lots of money on this kind of thing, and then the U.S. found out about it and were like, oh shit, well, we can't let the Russians get the best of us. So then that's when Project Stargate funded, and the CIA and everything like that. So, I mean, why would 2 different governments be pumping money into programs like this if there were no results? The government doesn't spend money on stuff that doesn't work. They just don't.
Yeah. It's the same reason why we went to the moon. Because the Russians, we were scared that the Russians were going to get there first.
It's always some kind of competition, egotistical BS. But
right, isn't it? Right. It is always a competition.
It really is. It really is.
I mean, yeah, but
anyway,
I'm really excited. I can't wait for the book to come out.
Same.
And continuing on with this book release, something else that we wanted to share with you guys before we end this story is a message that we got from Lue Elizondo's email list, which you can join by going to his website. Link is in the video description below. Back on July 15th, that shares some insights about his book that may just interest you.
It says, go ahead.
There you go. Okay. Greetings, folks. I hope you are all doing well. I wanted to take a moment and update you since my last newsletter. As many of you know, I'm very excited for the upcoming release of my memoir/book, Imminent, Inside the Pentagon's Hunt for UFOs, due out on August 20th. You can pre-order from official retailers in the US, Canada, and the UK. Also, since it's my story, I only thought it fitting that I narrate it for the audiobook version of Imminent, Inside the Pentagon's Hunt for UFOs, where you can listen to my story in my own voice.
That's cute.
Yeah, I want to do that. I want to buy that. That'd be cool. As most of you know, I don't have the silky smooth voice of Sinatra, but it was important to me and the great team over at Harper that we keep this book entirely authentic. And as a bonus, my dear friend and colleague, Mr. Chris Mellon, was gracious enough to compose the foreword to Imminent and decided it was important enough for him to also do the audio recording for the foreword.
Cute, double cute.
Cool. Many of you have also asked about signed copies. You can now pre-order signed copies from East City Bookshop in DC, shipping nationwide. In the upcoming weeks, I'll be announcing some special events and media that I'll be participating in as part of our effort to increase disclosure efforts and awareness. I am really looking forward to re-engaging with you, the UAP community, and discussing ongoing projects, progress, goals, and victories. Thank you again for your interest in this vital topic. Please be on the lookout as I'll have more details to follow in the very near term. In the meantime, be safe, be well, and be you. And to hear from Lue himself, and to find out how to get a signed copy of this book, let's check out this next clip.
Hi everybody, it's Lue Elizondo, and I'm coming to Talk Shop Live on August 22nd at 7 p.m. Eastern. Tune in to hear all about my new book, Imminent, Inside the Pentagon's Hunt for UFOs, and pre-order your autographed copy. Plus, you can ask me questions during the event. Follow my Talk Shop Live channels to be notified when I go live. See you soon, and thanks.
I thought that was cute.
Yeah, cool.
All right, so what do you guys think? Did you catch a sneak peek of the book, or did you miss the moment? What are your thoughts on remote viewing and the CIA funding Project Stargate? Do you agree that remote viewing, clairvoyance, and telepathy are all innate human abilities? Do you think this leak will ultimately lead to more attention on and sales of this book? Let us know in the comment section below.
Up next, Senator Gillibrand co-sponsors the new UAPDA.
Remember last December when the UAP Disclosure Act put forth by Senator Schumer and Rounds was gutted and everyone was freaking out about it?
Yep.
Well, they're trying it again this year, but this time they got Senator Gillibrand to co-sign. The question is, though, considering her ties with Arrow and the DOD, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? We'll let you decide.
A tweet from D. Dean Johnson reads, update, on July 23rd, 2024, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand signed on as a co-sponsor of SA 2610, the Rounds-Schumer UAP Disclosure Act, which Senator Mike Rounds filed on July 11th as a possible amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act.
In addition to that, we have a clip from Down to Earth with Christian Harloff, where he and Pavel Ibarra discuss the event and the implications it could have for the rest of the year.
Senator Gillibrand, she's going to join the fight with Schumer and Rounds. That's what we're talking about here today. That's why I bring in Pavel. Pavel, how's it going?
Hello, Christian. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, man. So, all right, you hear this, and you and I have gone back and forth on whether it's DMs or anything too when the Gillibrand stuff comes out, because it seems like for a while the hearings that she was trying to push forward was very Arrow DOD centric. She seemed like she was kind of being the spokesperson for them. But then you hear this, that she signs off on this particular bill in unity with Rounds and Schumer. Is it confusing? What say you?
it is Matt Laszlo, the one who has been talking about this for a while, because when I got to interview him the first time, he did mention that he felt something was kind of off about Senator Gillibrand. And she's been consistent in that. She's delivered some strange messages about this, mixed messages. But yeah, let's just hope that she remains faithful to her party, not to her donors, because uh, pretty much every single senator gets some type of donation from these aerospace companies. And I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Gillibrand got some, maybe years ago, if not now.
Yeah, but then if that's the case, if she's been getting these donations, that you could say, okay, well, that explains why she's pushing so heavily on an arrow-based hearings and those type of things. But then what sense does this make for her to then join up with both Rounds and Schumer to say, yeah, well, I co-sign on this. We should have all this information out there.
We still don't know how it's going to play out. So I don't know if you did cover this, I think, the Marek von Renenkov interview with Kirkpatrick.
Yeah.
He confessed that he was Arrow were the ones who blocked the most recent bill, and we don't know what's going to happen on this one. I know that the eminent domain part is going to be again a point of contention, but we have to wait and see where Gillibrand stands.
I think
Because she's been very cozy with Arrow, though.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. That's why it doesn't make sense to me. But even if it is, and if Schumer, who is the leader of the or the outside of the president, says, all right, listen, I need you to sign off on this now. So I wasn't bothering you about it, but now no more of this Arrow DoD stuff. You need to support me. So sign up with me in Rounds. But fine, then let's just say that that's what happened. Who knows? But it doesn't take away from the question that we say all of the time, as you just mentioned, the eminent domain and all that stuff. What stops Arrow? What stops Turner? What stops them from doing it again? What's different? What am I missing?
Well, there are a couple of things happening over the next 2 months that you already know about. The Elizondo book is one thing. That Grusch op-ed remains on schedule. We don't know exactly when, but it remains there. And there are already rumblings of a couple of whistleblowers preparing to come forward. We know that Kevin Day recently spoke about some witnesses from the Tic Tac incident coming forward too. So I'm guessing that there's a bunch of stuff that's going to happen, and one of those is going to have sensitive information that will either force some of these clauses, like the eminent domain part, or shut them down all over.
Right. Because that's going to be, as everybody in this community will be waiting with bated breath, obviously, where if this goes down, then it's be about a year behind from what the Soul Foundation was talking about, but they'll at least be on track. Every single person I talked to, and especially people from the Soul Foundation, when I spoke to Tim Gallaudet himself, they were all thrown off that it didn't get passed. And you started to hear that first wave that it wasn't going to get passed in its form when Grusch was talking about it on Rogan. And he knew, he already had heard kind of rumblings that Turner was going to block it. And it seemed like at that point, I remember taking a walk with my dog, listening to that, going, oh, this isn't going to go through. This isn't going to move the way that the Soul Foundation thinks it is. And it turned out that it didn't. And now I say, I just don't see, like, I haven't heard inside of any of these reports, well, what's different now about this is, it's just, oh, they're trying it again. And so, okay. And this time they have Gillibrand on board too. Okay. And then what's different in the fact that, when Robert Garcia put together all this stuff, and they didn't want to do it. And we'll see if this goes through in its current form, well, then people should be excited. People should be, hopeful, curious, and all that. If it doesn't, we're going to go through the same round that we basically went through this year. Because in the heart of hearts, you look at 2023 of what happened, right? 2023 was a massive year for this topic. 2020, right. Would you call 2024? Now, remember how it was pitched. 2024, whether it was Lue Elizondo, Jeremy Corbell, James Fox, the list goes on and on. The 2024 was going to be lid blown off this thing. Wait to see what's coming. It's been somewhat of a dud this year as far as
The first half has been blue balls galore.
It's been a dud.
Hobble.
It's been an absolute dud, and there's been information. To say there's been no information is not true, and to see what's going to come out of this book from Lue Elizondo, but it's the same thing that I wonder. There's a lot of information already being leaked out, and it's like, okay, these are fascinating stories, but what's it going to do in the long run except just sell more books? Am I wrong about that? Is that going to move the needle at all?
It depends on how, because I from what I've heard, because I made a decision to not talk about the leaks, but I have heard some things, and some of the things are extremely woo, and I can already see debunkers coming at Lue from all over.
Yeah, it's already happening.
Yeah, it's already happening though, but I think that also the James Fox documentary is going to be an important aspect of all of this for the second half of 2024.
Blue balls galore.
I mean,
that was very funny, Pavel.
2024 was hyped up a lot, and everybody was like, "Oh, just wait till next year. You know, we're gonna have this come out. We're gonna have that come out. We're gonna have this come out." And so far, it's just been like a bunch of.
Well, yeah, so far, but I mean, on August 20th, Lue's book is coming out.
Yep.
Just like Pavel said, James Fox's documentary, I think, is going to be big. Also, those are just those two things right there could make 2024 bigger than 2023.
Oh, you think so?
I think so. I mean, just from what we've found out about Lue's book so far, yeah, it's extremely like woo, right?
Yeah.
But I think honestly, I think that this phenomena, this UAP ufology field, it's not just nuts and bolts, and more and more and more is that coming out,
right?
And I mean, I think that people should start thinking about other possibilities other than it just being nuts and bolts.
Okay.
And I think Lue's book is going to really push the needle.
Okay.
And
well, let's get back on track towards the UAPDA aspect of this.
Yeah.
You forgot about that part.
I did.
You did.
Sorry, I got off on a tangent there.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's all right. What I wanted to point out is a couple things that were mentioned in that video, and that is Gillibrand's faithfulness to her party, not her donors. We're hoping that she stays faithful to her party and not the people that are funding her to.
But as we know,
I'll leave the rest of that statement blank. She's known for pushing Arrow-based hearings, and Arrow is known to be full of shakaka and give us a bunch of nothing burger papers.
I'll be honest, I think Arrow is, has become the new Project Blue Book, the new nothing to see here, folks, move along.
Yeah. I mean, when Kirkpatrick admitted that Arrow blocked the last bill, I mean, there you have it.
Why are they blocking a bill? What the hell does the office? What the hell does the government office? Care.
They just don't want this coming out. That's what it is. That's what the bottom line is. They don't want this coming out.
They are Project Blue Book 2.0. Might as well call them Blue Balls 2.0.
Oh lordy.
There ain't
okay.
Nothing good coming out of them.
What is different this time around that will allow this bill to pass? That's like the ultimate question, and the only thing we could do is wait and see. One thing I also wanted to point out is that David Grusch's op-ed is still up in the air. That's still like anticipated to happen. That was another thing that was supposed to happen. Like I think it was announced the end of 2023, and Grusch was like, "Oh yeah, in like 6 weeks." Meanwhile, it's been like 7 months. So where's the op-ed? What happened to that? I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah. So if that comes out in 2024 as well, then that could definitely make 24 bigger than 23.
Okay, then maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, hey, all these things have the potential to like move the ball forward, push it down the field. As always, the link to this tweet and video, along with all other sources featured in this show, can be found in the video description box below in the order that they are shown. So make sure to check that out.
But, okay, so whatever happens in 24, or 25 for that matter, you best believe that you can come back here and we will talk about it.
Oh, for sure. For sure. This is the spot where the tea is spilled. Come sit down, sis. Have a chair.
Yes, we got you covered. Okay. Even if you just, want to take a step back and only tune in once a week, that's what we do.
Yeah.
Right. And speaking of David Grusch, let's roll into our next story.
Yes.
David Grusch's $2.5 million lawsuit. What?
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's right. You heard me correctly. $2.5 million. To learn more about the story, let's take a look at the Loudoun Times Mirror article called UFO Whistleblower Sues Sheriff's Office Over Records Release.
Okay, this article called UFO Whistleblower Sues Sheriff's Office Over Records Release by Evan Goodnow on July 26, 2024. This article starts off by saying, a retired Air Force officer who testified before Congress that the U.S. government was involved for decades in a secret crash retrieval and reverse engineering program involving UFOs is suing, I'm not sure how to say that, but Loudoun County Sheriff Mike Chapman and an unidentified sheriff's office employee for releasing personal information about him. The plaintiff, retired Major David C. Grusch, says in a $2.5 million lawsuit filed July 16th in Loudoun Circuit Court that a sheriff's office employee improperly released, quote, highly sensitive personal information, end quote, about his medical history in response to a Freedom of Information Act request on July 30th, 2023. The employee is identified only as Jane Doe. In an email to the Times Mirror, Sheriff's Office spokesman Thomas A. Julia said the agency, quote, acted in accordance with the law in responding to the referenced FOIA and disagrees with the allegations filed, end quote. Ken Klippenstein, then a reporter for The Intercept, filed the record request 4 days after Grusch testified before the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. Grusch told the committee that several current and former members of the intelligence community and military provided him with photography, official documentation, and classified oral testimony about the program, according to the transcript of his remarks. Grusch said that he filed a whistleblower complaint with the U.S. Office of the Intelligence Community Inspector General and suffered retaliation for his actions. A sheriff's office employee provided Klippenstein with an incident report detailing why a magistrate in October 2018 issued an emergency custody order to detain Grusch involuntarily, at Innova's London Adult Medical Psychiatric Services Program for a psychiatric evaluation, according to the lawsuit. An ECO, or ECO, allows people deemed by a magistrate to be a danger to themselves or others to be held for up to 8 hours of an evaluation, or for an evaluation. A mental health worker who evaluated Grusch sought a temporary detention order for him, but Grusch, quote, was not committed and was consequently released, end quote, according to the suit. A TDO allows a person deemed a danger to themselves or others to be held up to 72 hours before a civil commitment hearing. Reports and court documents related to an involuntary admission are excluded from being released under the Virginia FOIA, according to the suit. Quote, the defendants had no authority to exercise discretion when releasing information relating to plaintiff's involuntary admission records, reports, and or documents, end quote, the suit says. The disclosure to Klippenstein was prohibited by law. The Intercept, an online investigative news site, published an article on August 9th, 2023, that included a redacted version of the incident report. It said Grusch's wife called the sheriff's office to report that he was drunk and experiencing a mental health crisis in their home. The couple sold the home in 2019, according to county property records. The article said that security clearances, which Grusch had, are subject to strict requirements, and questioned why Grusch was allowed to keep his security clearance after the 2018 incident. The lawsuit says the article caused Grusch to, quote, suffer personally and professionally, end quote. And there you have it, folks. So, Ken Klippenstein, what a freaking creep, huh?
Yeah.
To give you some more context to this story and to remind you all of why this even started and by whom, let's check out this next clip from Vetted.
Ken Klippenstein is the reporter, right? That this is all about, basically, who requested these records. Now, to be clear, David Grusch is not suing Ken Klippenstein. Ken Klippenstein made a request. The sheriff's office gave Ken Klippenstein the request. David Grusch is suing the sheriff's office for allowing that, right? So these are a couple clips of Ken Klippenstein talking about this article after it came out and some of the backlash. Okay, he went on a show called Breaking Points.
Accusations are flying as journalist Ken Klippenstein has published a new report for The Intercept saying UFO whistleblower Dave Grusch, who recently testified before the House Oversight Committee, was at one point referred to a mental health institution following 2 911 calls from his wife in what Grusch says is a PTSD-related alcoholic incident. Grusch and his associates initially accused the intelligence community of leaking non-public health records to Klippenstein, who has since revealed he in fact retained access to this information by Freedom of Information Act requests. Resulting dramas got both sides. They're accusing the other of not telling the truth to the public about the situation. So we've got Ken Klippenstein himself in the studio now. Join us defending his story. It's good to see you, Ken. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for coming in, Ken.
Great to be back with you guys. All right, Ken.
So let's get to the next clip. This is more just, should Ken Klippenstein have done this? And what was the purpose behind it, right? Why would he make this article and share this about David Grusch 4 days after he testifies? How did he even know to go to that sheriff's office and ask for it?
That's what I want to know.
Right. Well, in this interview, he claims that he was told by some Pentagon insider sources of his where to go look. I got to admit, that's suspicious.
Super
And
sus.
because of Ken Klippenstein's reporting, right, based off those records, David Grusch is saying he financially suffered personally, right? So he's asking for $2.5 million. You know, did David Grusch suffer that much? Did he have deals that he lost because of it? There may be some things behind the scenes we don't know. But what is clear is Ken Klippenstein as a reporter, I have to admit, this is kind of, it's low blow. It's a
Very
low
low
blow, and I still to this day don't see the point of it.
I'm just trying to understand, like, what is the value of this information being put forward? And to be clear, you didn't do anything wrong. You're doing your job. We get crazy
disagree
tips from
with that.
people all the time here. So I have no issue with the Freedom of Information Act, even if you did report it, even if you did get a tip from the intel community. I guess it comes down to, like, the framing and the substance of, like, what are we supposed to do with this information?
Well, I included in this story an example of the dozens of White House staffers who had their clearances revoked for smoking weed, including in states where it was legal.
Right.
What does that
Places where
even
it's
have to
legal.
do with
So,
anything?
like, this is part of the clearance process. And so, again, this whole focus on PTSD, and if it makes him not credible, that was never something I said. That was a focus that he made trying to get ahead of the story in the statement that he put out. My interest was always the alcoholism. And I mean, I guess I feel as though there's some kind of grandstanding around this stuff, because the reality is, if you're going to, say, get a medical procedure, go see a surgeon, you find out he's an alcoholic, that's probably going to factor in your deciding somewhat, right?
Right. Well, I mean, is he an active alcoholic? Do you know that?
We know that from the reports his wife said he was.
Okay, in
That's not true.
2018.
Yes.
But we don't know anything.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, but we
He's
don't
an
know anything now.
alcoholic. Sagar rebuts. Is he an active alcoholic? Is that right now? Right. Well, according to that's what the reports say. That's in 2018. Yeah. So we don't know anything now. No. So see the way Ken Klippenstein twisted that? He's trying to make it seem like David Grusch is an active alcoholic, when clearly that's not the case, because when you look into this, you find out David Grusch had problems with alcohol, got help, and moved on with his life. And when you hear about why he started drinking, becomes even more clear. He served in our military overseas, and he had PTSD, had some issues. He knew people that lost their life, and that affected him. He began to drink. See the pattern there? That happens to a lot of our vets. And this is how we're going to treat them? This is how we're going to talk about them? Ken Klippenstein never, in the article or in this interview, ever sort of acknowledges that context about David Grusch. It makes me sick to my stomach, to be honest with you. It seemed very disingenuous, an attack on David Grusch, and now clearly that's affected him enough to want to sue.
I couldn't agree more, Patrick.
Yeah, I think what Klippenstein, however you want to say it, what he did was dirty. I mean, he's seeing David Grusch coming forward, trying to, talk about crash retrieval programs and all this other stuff, and he's like, "Oh, let me find some dirt on him," and somebody just happens to whisper in his ear, "Oh, by the way, if you call such and such sheriff's office and ask about such and such and such, you'll find that there's a police report about an incident." So then creepy Klippenstein goes over there, does the FOIA, gets the paperwork back, and then writes an article smearing Grusch, trying to say, "Oh, he's an alcoholic, he shouldn't have his clearances, blah, blah, blah." What?
Yeah, that's bullshit.
That is bullshit. That's like, if you don't see the writing on the wall of that smear campaign effort, you need some glasses. I'll lend you mine. They're really strong. Sorry.
That is people in the government that are pissed off that Grusch even came forward and testified, and you know, so yeah, they go leak this information purposefully, you know, which that's the real disservice. You know, that's the real people that are breaking the law. You know, David Grusch didn't break any law.
No,
you know?
he
He got all this cleared through
sure
Doxer
did
before
not.
he said anything.
Yeah, he
you
was
know?
totally cleared for all of that. I mean, and
Exactly.
if you're going to take somebody's incident where, like, you know, he's
Right.
having a moment, we all have moments,
Yeah, exactly.
right? I mean,
and
like,
it's totally understandable.
yeah, you can't take somebody's moment in time when they were dealing with something and at a low point and needing help and went and got that help to then turn around and try to use that moment against them and smear their whole credibility. No, man, no, that's just wrong. That's dirty.
That just makes me believe him even more, because why are you going to go through the effort of trying to smear somebody if you don't want what they're actually about to say?
Yes.
You know, if it's not true, why go through the effort?
Right. They thought that they could play with this man's credibility, and well, as the saying goes, you fuck around and you find out. Grusch is clearly not amused by their tactics or taking this lightly.
Yeah. Anyway, so what are your thoughts on Grusch suing the sheriff's office? Do you think he will win? I think he probably will.
Okay.
But and if so, what message will that send to those that orchestrated his smear campaign? Make sure to join the UAP Society Discord server and share with the community what you think. An invite link can be found in the description box below.
Up next, a slew of worldwide UFO sightings. Okay, guys, get ready, because we are about to show you a lot of different events that happened in multiple different locations. In this next clip, we have 3 different UFO sightings that, if you ask me, all seem similar. Now, I'm not saying that they're the same exact object or craft, but the physical resemblance is evident. But don't take my word for it. Feast your eyes on this and let me know what you think. The next video contains 3 different sightings, 2 recent and 1 older, and pay attention to the dates that I've included on the screen so you can tell which ones are which. There's 3 different ones. Doesn't it look like it's like morphing or like breathing, like getting taller and then flatter? Tall, look, it's tall now and then it's gonna flatten back out again. If they can keep the camera steady, that'd be great. Look, watch it like move.
Yeah.
It looks like it's like getting bigger and then smaller, and bigger and then smaller. See, look, now it looks flat.
Right.
Now it looks big. I think this actually might be a balloon. This is the first time I'm going to say that.
You know, oh, here
Watch
it is.
This. So play this.
This is the same event.
What in the fuck is that?
So look at that, and look at that line. It's up on a 45-degree angle. That is, and the speed that it's kind of moving is the speed that I saw something in only at night.
But you have to take into consideration that this plane is moving in a specific direction, and the UFO is moving in the opposite direction.
So it's faster?
It looks much faster than it actually is. So even if that was like a Mylar balloon, if you're passing it that fast, See, that thing, I mean, I don't know what you're getting there. Like, is that distorted? Like, when they're showing that image, that to me looks like it's from another fucking world.
Yo, can somebody explain to me?
This is the third event.
What is that?
Wait.
All of you!
Daddy, chill.
What the hell is even that? What is that, yo?
I couldn't help myself.
That looks like a flying saucer. The thing is just not moving at all in the sky.
Kind of like the first one. It was just
Come
sitting
closer,
there, right?
Come closer, you alien.
Oh, come on, zoom in. Yes. Huh. So they all have a similar shape.
They do, right? They have similar physical resemblance.
Okay, so the Brazil one.
The first one.
Yeah, the first one.
Okay, I think that was a balloon.
That was taken from two different angles.
Uh-huh.
It looks like it could be a star-shaped balloon on its side.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And
I can't believe I just said that. I agree with that.
And possibly the reason that you see it kind of morphing.
It looks like it's like doing like
yeah, it's like getting bigger than thinner, thicker than thinner, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, that could just be because it's not fully inflated.
Yeah.
And it's just,
yeah.
There.
I think it's a balloon. I included it in that series of clips though because of the shape. But
it's also similar to the shape of the airplane flying past that object. If you think about it, the shape of that one, it's kind of on its side a little bit.
Wait, now you're talking about the second one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
From
we've moved on.
From the airplane.
We've moved on to the second one. Okay, go ahead.
That one's more interesting than I would say the Brazil one, because the Brazil one, it looks like it could be a balloon. You know? So if the airplane video is, if the airplane is flying past a stationary object, that is about as fast as a balloon would fly past the airplane. It would appear as though it's flying past the airplane, but it's really stationary, and the airplane is just flying past it.
Can you hold that thought?
Yeah, okay, well.
Because I have this little blurb of context to that story. I want to read it to you and then see if that coincides with what you're saying or if it negates it. So,
sure.
To give you context on the May 2023 event that took place in the Colombian skies that Joe Rogan and Howie Mandel were talking about, I'd like to read you this following information. The event took place on May 4th, 2023 over Antigua, Colombia, involving a Cessna T-303 Crusader piloted by George Arteaga. According to George Arteaga, and that's probably Jorge, excuse me, I'm a white girl, forgive me. The object observed was not a balloon of any type, not a drone, and not any known object to him. He recorded a video of the sighting, which has been confirmed to be authentic. Arteaga recounts that the object was first seen floating stationary as at a specific point between Medellin and Santa Fe. He and his co-pilot Daniel were flying towards Medellin when they noticed the object. As they approached the UAP, it suddenly moved towards them, prompting Arteaga to ask Daniel if he saw and heard it. Arteaga then turned the plane around, capturing the first video of the stationary object. As he was filming, the object moved slightly, and he began to hunt it with the aircraft. At this point, the UAP started moving towards them. Arteaga managed to avoid the object while flying at a speed of 130 to 140 knots, which is roughly over 300 kilometers per hour. He noted that had the object been a balloon, the aircraft's wake would have blown it away or disrupted its position. He also ruled out the possibility of it being a solar or helium balloon, as the sighting occurred at 12,500 feet with temperatures around 5 degrees Celsius. Arteaga expressed fear during the encounter, insisting that the object was neither a balloon, a drone, nor any object known to him. So now what do you think? Did it change? Did that change anything for you at all?
Nope.
Okay. One of the things I found interesting in the comments regarding that particular one is that they said that it's flying sideways, like Bob Lazar said that crafts fly, with their like belly up, so to speak.
Yeah. Okay, so I get what Bob Lazar says, and I am of the opinion that I believe Bob Lazar is telling the truth.
Okay.
That still doesn't change my opinion about this video. And the points that he's making here, where it says at 12,500 feet and around 5 degrees Celsius, what does that matter? That doesn't matter anything, because, I mean, we launch balloons. The UAP Society launched a balloon up to 70,000 feet.
Okay.
And at 70, 1,000 feet, it is, a negative, 80, 90 degrees
Okay.
Fahrenheit. I mean, next time you go flying on an airplane, you're at 36,000 feet. If you can find the screen that gives you the data about the outside, air temperature and everything, look at it. And I guarantee it'll be at least in the negative 50s.
Okay.
Yeah. So the whole thing about being, that it can't be a helium balloon because they were at 12,500 feet and around 5 degrees Celsius, that doesn't make sense to me.
Okay. All right. So what are your thoughts on the third one then?
All right. So the third one looks really similar to the Calvine UFO that was photographed over Scotland.
Oh.
And
I'll edit in a picture.
Yep. I mean, it's very similar. It has a pretty clear diamond shape to it.
So it's more pointy versus like rounded. More pointy versus domed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that one might be more difficult to discern what it is, but it looks awfully similar to the diamond-shaped Calvine UFO picture to me.
So hold your horses because we have like a lot more things to go through.
Okay.
We're not even close to done yet with this one.
Okay.
So in addition to that, we have a tweet from someone we saw earlier in the show, Pavel, who had this to share on Twitter. New black triangle craft pics just dropped from the controversial Juanito Juan on Facebook. What do you think? And I'll show those pictures. I thought it was kind of funny that in the comments section, someone said it looks like a Dorito. That's kind of funny. And since we're talking about a triangle-shaped craft, Jeremy Corbell posted this on Twitter. Wondering if anybody else saw or filmed the two triangle-shaped craft over San Pedro, Long Beach, Huntington Beach on Tuesday, July 16th around 9 p.m. If so, reach out to Weaponized Podcast at proton.me. Let's check that out and hear that from Jeremy himself.
Really quickly for Weaponized, I want to go fishing right now. There's something that's come on my radar, which is just last week on Tuesday, July 16th. Man, there was a pretty astonishing documentation. I received some videos. I'm analyzing them right now. They're okay, but I want to see if more people saw this. There were two craft that came over San Pedro. So if people know San Pedro, so it's kind of like if you look from Long Beach, you could have also seen it, but it was a triangle, George. So I just want to show you a drawing from one of the witnesses who filmed it. And right now, again, I'm analyzing the footage, but just check that out. So this is Tuesday, July 16th, 8:58 p.m. Two of these bad boys. One of the witnesses came forward to me. Here, let me show people where San Pedro is. Right about there. It's looking out towards Catalina Island.
Catalina Island.
If anybody was Long Beach, San Pedro, or any of those areas on Tuesday, Huntington Beach, even you could have seen it. I talked to an individual who had binoculars on it, and that's how they could see this perfect triangle-shaped craft with three lights and then like a dull center, but like a circle. Now, this could be our military, but it was moving in a way without sound. I mean, I hope it was our military. This craft sounded astonishing, but it was low enough over San Pedro that people with binoculars could see it, and there is some footage, but I'm kind of fishing right now. If anybody else filmed this last Tuesday about 8:58 or 9 p.m. going towards like 9:10 p.m., definitely send me an email because I'm trying to collect as much information as I can about it.
So that is the most interesting thing to me.
What?
Out of all the video that we just saw and the pictures that we just saw, I want to see the videos that he's talking about.
Jeremy always has like a stash of videos that he's just straight up teasing us with and not showing us what he's talking about.
So that triangle craft from the picture that Pavel tweeted, that looks kind of sus to me, to be honest, because when you zoom in, you can really see the pixelation of it, and it looks like it was something that was edited.
Okay, that's fair. Hey, look, I just take things that I can correlate in some kind of way and present them to you guys and let you guys make up your own mind. I'm not here to tell you what to think or whatever.
Right. I'm not trying to debunk anything. I'm not trying to be a debunker, but I am a little skeptical of certain pictures, because you can easily explain them, right? I'm more interested in the really anomalous pictures that you can't readily explain. Or video of triangle craft flying from Catalina Island.
Yeah.
The whole thing with that happening around Catalina Island Catalina Island has been a hot spot, right? And that is also where they filmed that documentary, A Hole in the Sky, or Tear in the Sky.
Tear in the Sky.
Yep. Yeah, Tear in the Sky.
Carolina Corey, I think, is the producer's name.
Yeah, Caroline Corey.
Caroline Corey, right? Yeah.
Yeah, which that was a good documentary, you know, and I recommend you go check it out. But Catalina Island has been a UAP hotspot, you know, and the whole Tic Tac incident happened really close to there. You know, I mean, within 100 miles, I think.
Okay.
And so you know, if all of a sudden, you know, Jeremy Corbell got video and reports of 2 triangle craft flying or moving in that area, you know, that's very interesting to me. I would love to see that video, and I would love to know if anybody else actually got video of it.
Same.
You know, and if you did, please reach out to Jeremy, you know, so we can
or us.
Yeah. You know, I want to see that video. That would be awesome. That would be amazing.
Yeah. Now, while Pavel's post is referring to a sighting that happened in Mexico, Jeremy is talking about an incident that happened off the coast of California near Catalina Island. But could they be the same craft? I mean, Mexico is not that far from California. I'm just saying, if you're talking about a craft that can zip off and fly through the sky super fast, it wouldn't be that long to get from Mexico to California. Just saying. Nope, don't debunk me.
Okay.
But going back to Pavel's tweet, there's something that I wanted to point out there. So in that tweet, he mentions the Juanito Juan, whom I had never heard of before until now. And when I asked Pavel about it, he suggested that I look him up on YouTube in conjunction with Jaime Maussan. So I did, and I found a video showcasing all of the multiple sightings that Juanito Juan has put up there, and something in particular stood out to me. So check this out. Okay. So on the top, we have an orb sighting in Mexico. On the bottom, we have an orb sighting on Skinwalker Ranch. Does anybody else see anything that looks pretty similar? What do you think?
So they do look very similar to me.
At first, I thought that Juanito Juan stole the still shot from Skinwalker Ranch, and then I'm like, oh, hell no, let me go look this up. I searched it up real fast, and they're not the same landscape. So it's not the same picture, but they are very, very, very similar, if you ask me.
Yeah, you know, and orbs, right? Especially with them looking like blurry or distorted, you know, there's some really good theories behind why they look like that, you know.
And that one it was captured from Skinwalker Ranch, excuse me for cutting you off, that only showed up on one frame.
One frame.
Jinx. It only showed up on one frame. It wasn't like out there for an extended period of time. So it's like, I feel like they can pop in, pop out. They know when they're being recorded. They can stop themselves from being recorded. They can block technology. I don't know. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, there is a lot going on. But, you know, some of the leading theories as to why some of these objects look distorted is because of how they move, right? If it's been theorized that they use some sort of gravitational propulsion, right? Which if they do, that means that the craft is in this type of gravity bubble that not only can distort space and time, but it also distorts light that's moving around it, you know? So, you know, that could be an explanation as to why they look so blurry, you know?
Okay.
Just saying.
No, I mean, it's a lot to consider.
It is a lot to consider.
And I know that we just threw a whole lot of things at you there, but I hope it was all worth the watch. So which one of these sightings was most compelling to you? Do you think that the triangle craft that Pavel showed pics of was the same craft that Jeremy Corbell is fishing for? Was an orb
Sorry, no, I don't think it is, but anyway.
Was the orb captured by Juanito in Mexico eerily similar to the one captured on Skinwalker Ranch? Or is it just me? Let us know in the comment section below.
And last but not least, UAP hearings, past and present. July 26th marked the 1-year anniversary of the monumental UAP hearings in which we heard testimony from Dave Fravor, Ryan Graves, and David Grusch. And their words left a permanent mark in history. On Twitter, Ryan Graves, who created the Americans for Safe Aerospace, had this to say. Today marks the 1-year anniversary of congressional hearings on UAP and the first ever sworn testimony from pilots. We have made tremendous strides fighting UFO stigma and encouraging UAP reporting this year. UAP are a national security and aviation safety issue that demands congressional oversight, and I agree with that. Over 12,000 people have joined ASA, I'm one of them, in the fight for government transparency. The Safe Aerospace for Americans Act was introduced in the House to enable direct, protected, and transparent reporting of UAP by commercial pilots. We have worked with over 100 pilots in our witness program and referred many of their most striking cases. But there is so much left to do. Congress needs to enable commercial pilot reporting to solve military pilot underreporting. More than 60% of pilots who report to ASA have not reported anywhere else, showing there are still major gaps in data collection. Polling shows an overwhelming majority of the public does not trust the DoD to be transparent about UFOs. Yeah.
I don't see why anybody would trust them, but keep going.
Yeah. We have made a lot of progress in the last year, but we need to keep up the pressure on Congress and the next administration to lead on this issue. We hope you will join us in the fight to identify what's in our skies.
I'm so glad that he not only reminded us of what's happened in the past, but gave us things to work on and strive for in the future. And speaking of the future, let's close out this story with a tweet from Ask Poll UAPs. News exclusive. UAP caucus co-chair Anna Paulina tells us, quote, we are for sure doing, end quote, a UFO hearing this fall led by a new female chair. So we just had the 1-year anniversary of the UAP hearings with Grusch, Fravor, and Graves.
Yeah.
And now Paulina is telling us that we're going to have more UAP hearings this fall. So going back to what we were talking about earlier, where maybe the second half of 2024 will produce a bunch of stuff. I mean, UAP hearings would certainly help.
Absolutely, yeah. And we should do another watch party.
Oh,
that'd
yeah.
be cool.
If there's more hearings, best believe there will be a watch party.
Right.
Best believe.
Yeah, because the last UAP hearings, the one that, the one that Ryan Graves was just talking about, Chris Slato, went and we hosted the watch party for him. Anyway, that was a very interesting and illuminating UAP hearing. So that gives me hope for the next one.
I'm hoping that the next one is just as big of, if not a bigger banger than the one we just referenced.
And who do you guys think could be the new female chair?
Yeah.
Drop that in the comment section.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, at least now we have something to look forward to for the end of 2024.
What? Wait, what? Wait a minute.
Okay, list them off. What do we have to look forward to? Go ahead.
We have a lot to look forward to.
Shoot them off.
Okay, so yeah, we have Lue Elizondos' book.
Okay.
Right. We have the new UAP hearings. Right. We have
James Fox's documentary.
Yes. Yes. I was like, wait a minute.
I got you.
Anyway, we have the documentary. So I think we have a lot of things coming up.
Well, thank you for that reminder.
So anyway.
I agree with what he said.
Yeah, we do have a lot.
We do. And that concludes this week's UAP Society's weekly UAP and UFO news show. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And while you're here, please do us a favor and smash that like button unapologetically. Click subscribe, ring our little notification bell, drop a lovely comment down below, and share this video with your family and friends to help us spread the good word. Let's raise the collective consciousness together in unity.
All right, much love.
Much love. Peace and namaste.
Just to move on quietly.